she still owns the property, she still can enjoy it, and she can pass it on to her descendants. But this conservation easement, which is primarily for wildlife movement, wildlife preservation, it's gonna go on for generations, you know, as long after all of us are gone, this is still going to be serving Tufnboro and Tufnboro wildlife, so it's a really wonderful thing.
Depending on what the technological future of the world is. I didn't put drones, no drones.
And if this gets covered by the paper, I'm just encouraging other landowners to follow Joni's example. All I have to do is call the town office, or call me, or call anybody on the Conservation Commission, and we'll meet with them and explain what an easement is all about. There's no obligation. They can think about it.
I have a
Hopefully
question.
decide to do it.
Would you and Joan be willing to meet with the paper if she wanted to do a little article promoting
Well,
this project?
he has quite a nice press release here, but do want to take a picture. Do you want to take a picture with the selectmen?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Do you have more to say though?
Go ahead. Who wants to speak? Go ahead.
But it's for the good of the town, I'll do it.
Take it with the team. Take it with the team.
You've always been part of the town.
We're
So our
selling.
families go way back. So.
Getting people to follow your example.
I know, that's why I'm all for it, yeah.
These are days that it's fun to be a selectman, Joan. And that's a compliment to both of you.
No.
Anything else from you folks?
That's my pitch.
No.
Do the selectmen have any questions?
So there's still gonna be logging, but only for personal use? How's that work?
With
Best practices, right?
trees that have to come down or should come down, need to come down, just,
Yeah.
but not like a tree farm or something, you know, coming in
Right.
and doing. I can. a lot
And
of-
are there, I'm sure I'm just
No,
gonna
you
move
go on.
along.
Yeah.
Are there existing easements and rights of way? Are there any existing easements or rights of way?
On that property?
Yeah,
No.
No,
okay.
no.
All right.
There is Joni's driveway, which is the exception that's in there.
Yeah,
And following, right next to the driveway is the utility line, which is on poles.
so that's an easement.
Actually, my driveway is legally a road because my father, anyway, it was, there were 7 lots there, was to be developed. So my driveway is a road, because that's the road into
You
this.
go right away.
And that's why it's Gamora Way, because it had to have a name when it went to 911. So, but it's essentially my driveway, but that's why there's a utility and everything there, because it's
Great.
I'd like to make a motion, if there's no further discussion, that we accept this easement and sign it.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any further discussion? Do we need Heather or someone to witness this?
I can be your witness.
Actually, I don't know if this will help. I got a little excited on the 18th of October. I had my part notarized. So I have a signed,
Okay.
I'm all signed in.
So we have three copies, just go to the last page, and
Yep.
we'll swap these around. Oh, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Did you want to do 2 more of yours? So,
Oh,
you have to read
yeah,
those
I guess I
notes? Is that
should,
one?
yeah.
They'll have them.
I just thought, easy one.
Leanne asked me to do 3, so.
Yeah.
So we're going around.
Okay, should I do all? No, I'll just.
It's up to you.
Where'd the other one go?
Right there.
Let's go on that.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Should I save this one or?
Yes,
I think so, yeah.
Frame it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll save it.
That one's done.
Oh.
You'll,
It's done.
you'll fill in the dates, Karen?
Yep.
She's gonna work this down.
Yep. Is it time for a picture?
It is, everyone's up there hearing.
My mother was such a
Very
lovely person, but she took terrible pictures after she was 60, and I'm 80.
No,
So I
31.
take lousy pictures.
Okay, I'm thinking, so I can get, well, okay, if you all, maybe you two could stand right in that space there, so I could get you all more together.
And I can move
Or do you want to sit in my chair?
Oh, no.
Look important.
and we'll give you a tiara.
And you definitely need to be
I'll-
right in front.
Right in the middle.
I'll get
Yep.
way down
What
here.
I'm gonna do is bring the chair around and sit in that shape.
Where do you want him?
Okay, so if you could fill that space. Can you fit in there?
Chip
There's
takes
a
his
bunch of-
glasses off.
That's, well, it's resource place.
Yep.
Pretend I'm sitting?
No, no, stand up. Stand up, okay. I need you all closer together.
All right.
You know what, Jeff, maybe you could stand behind Joe.
All right, I'll just stand.
You just have to put up with it.
No, animals. I've got, there are 25 wild turkey hens right now that are very happy because it'll be a nice home.
Just
isn't gonna hurt.
really serious, you look great.
Hmm?
You look great. Just looking real straight.
Too bad the rest of us
Come on,
couldn't look
Chip.
that good.
I think it's a beautiful day out.
It is snowing.
Thank you very much, John. Wonderful.
Thanks,
My
John.
goodness.
Our
thank
families
you.
go back 3 generations.
Oh. Oh, that's right. Wood, of course, my God. Yeah,
I should have about that. I know, it's hunting addressed.
Thank you very much.
Well, my goodness.
Don't be a stranger, come in and see us
Talking
anytime.
I can watch it
Let me
on
see the
video,
photos.
I mean, TV.
Photoshop it, put it.
I mean, you can
I'm not allowed to
assume
do that.
state that its regulations are actually doing some of the things.
Either I'll call you or I'll have Alana call you.
Yes, do, because, I mean,
Say, no,
I'm so stupid. She was the one person who was in there for my brother's service. And I just,
Did your brother die?
Take
Yeah.
work meeting with you all.
I know, and I just, I made
Kenya.
thought, I know it.
And Graham
Everything
said,
we read.
I want to, I have to talk to her about
Is
this.
this yours?
Yeah, yeah, I got my phone. Okay, thank you.
Thanks
oh, I'm sorry to
again.
hear people who
I don't wanna lose
had.
any.
I'm sorry.
They,
to hear
they also see their land as their
Yeah.
emergency bank account.
Well, thank you. Wow.
Is this
Thank
yours?
you, thank you.
Oh,
Steve,
your
go.
bag.
Oh, there he is.
$10,000,
Oh, yes.
unless you sell it to a speculator.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, will you send that to me by email? Because I need text.
Are you familiar with where this post is?
You don't have it?
No, I
What,
was,
what county road?
I'm having trouble with my
Prospect
email. I'm
Prospect.
actually having
There's a dirt
somebody
road that comes
working on
down.
it this afternoon.
County
Oh,
road.
because when I
Intersects
send it
with
in,
Sodom Road.
they have to
Okay.
format
And,
it.
so it's vacant.
but it's quite a wildlife.
You don't want to retype.
Otherwise, I'm gonna have the whole thing.
I will, if I can, I will.
Around
Well,
us.
Well,
Unless
if
I don't
we
use it
advertise
exactly
these
as you
things,
have
look,
it.
Hopefully I have a,
He's
I have
working on 4
resolved
different
later
projects.
this afternoon.
Wonderful.
And what it does is it
Well,
preserves
you
the
know
rural
what?
character. of the
I'll just write an
community.
article based on this, so you don't need to worry about it.
Great.
Relieve the tension, okay?
I thought you did a pretty good job of the last one.
Okay, thanks.
It's a big one.
That's exciting.
Oh, boy.
Thank you, Sue.
Steve, you have something else to discuss with us, right?
Yes. So these have some names and addresses on them, and I did not include that in the notes to the press. I don't know whether that information is shared or not. It's not important to the the content.
In section, is that the word?
Yep.
Is it?
You don't have a secretary,
Oh, is it supposed to be
or I didn't use a
inspection?
secretary.
Should be old dump intersection,
Inspection?
inspection.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, I have to get your attention to explain this. So I was called by a concerned citizen, local landowner out here about something he saw in this beaver pond. And I made a date with him for last Thursday, and I took Larry Gill with me, who has some expertise in pollution control from his employment before retirement. And if you look at this photo here, this is the old landfill. 171's up here. And this is the beaver pond. And here is a little closer view.
Which is the one you gave us, yeah.
I'll pass this around, but you should be able to see right in this area right here on the photo, it will look a little redder. There's a little red hue to it. And that is the location of what we found. And here are some photos of kind of what it looks like. This is iron oxide that's come out in some spring-fed water, and it kind of settles down on things, and sometimes it sticks to vegetation. That's what that redness is. And there's this oily sheen, and it's you know, if you poked at it, it's almost like a film. It's not like a glob of oil. It's like this very thin film on top of the water. This can be produced naturally when vegetation, when vegetation, particularly like early in the fall, you find a puddle out in the woods, and sometimes you'll see this, and you'll think, huh, somebody dumped some oil here. Not really. It's that vegetation decaying, and it leaves this a vegetative-based oil. It looks like this. So it is, but you'll notice it looks pretty thick right there. You usually don't see that when it's natural. There's another of that, and then this is kind of all three of the things together. You can see the iron oxide, the oil, and then you can see some kind of at the bottom of that picture.
Can you hold it so the camera
Yeah.
can see it too?
You have this one, and
So
oh, I
he's-
didn't give you
he's-
any of these.
no. Okay.
They're down here. There's kind of some lumps, and these are this algae. This floating mats of algae. You know, you could actually, if you scooped your hand through it, you could probably pick it up. Kind of greasy. And in this one here, you see this kind of greenish hue. It's another kind of algae that's in suspension in the water. Right in this. And there are, I can see two kinds. You can see a kind of lighter green and a darker green. That's kind of the two kinds that are there. Which that's also can be natural. Put them all together, you wouldn't likely see this, all three of these things in one spot. But that makes it suspicious that it's not natural. We covered the whole eastern edge of that beaver pond, which is kind of recent beaver activity. The beaver are in there right now, so the level of the water has been raised probably about 18 inches. But they didn't measure it. But we went along the whole edge of it, and except for this 50-foot area where there's two spring seats coming in, you can't find anything like this. it all looks like a natural beaver pond every place else. Particularly the algae. It wouldn't be unusual to see algae in a new beaver pond, but concentrating in this place with this other stuff makes it pretty suspicious. So I did a little sketch here, probably not gonna help you a lot, but it's, over on this side is the beaver pond. See, there's kind of a slope going up and there's some trees on it. And then it's excavated area over here, and then over in this part is the old dump. Water naturally flows in this topography this way, which probably means there's some glaciated sediment deposit down here which is impermeable, and it causes the water to flow this way. So I think there's a very good chance that this seepage coming down through this old dump, and it's being picked up by some kind of a flowing aquifer under there that's perched on top of this impermeable layer, and it's flowing this way, and that's where it comes out. This is something like, if you've been out to the rapid infiltration basin that Hillsborough has and the problems they're having with the breakout areas, this is a similar kind of thing. There's kind of a channel that was formerly packed with sand or something, and the water can flow through there. It's like a little underground stream. So I'm guessing that that's what's going on. We had some files and notes from the Conservation Commission being part of this, part of the closure of the old dump.
I know Mike Phelps was on that committee.
And Mike had some notes, and he had some materials that he saved. And he doesn't remember much except that he had this stuff.
Yeah.
So he turned it over to Larry, and Larry took a quick look at it Thursday afternoon. He had a dentist appointment, and then he was gonna start traveling with his wife for the weekend, for a long weekend, so he only had a chance to take a quick look at it. And he thinks he sees some notes that this spot actually was a test besides the test wells that are out there, and possibly, and it's in these notes, that in 2014, maybe a letter from the contractor saying that they couldn't use that spot anymore because it had some high concentrations of arsenic and lead. I don't know why that didn't turn bells on somewhere. So that's what we know. I think the only way to really know what's going on there is to have a professional test of that water.
Yeah.
And I don't think it makes any difference whether that it's winter time or not. Actually, it might even be better because there's less evaporation taking place on the surface. So any water that falls is more likely to get through until it starts freezing up. So the sooner the better to get that done. Larry is willing. I'm pretty well tapped out about taking on any more projects, but Larry is willing to follow this.
Well, this is also his background, testing
Yeah.
water. And I knew him when he was a selectman in Plastow, so he was very conscientious.
I think he was already retired here. His experiences with Massachusetts Department of Environmental Resources. And I know
And he's worked with us on the RID and also pharmaceuticals.
He has experience dealing with sewage situations as well as other things. So, but it's a lot more than I have. He also had a what's called a conductivity tester. Water can act like a battery. So, like you take water and throw some salt in it, it almost becomes a battery. So, this thing actually measures the conductivity of
That's one of the tests that Stan Tech does. It's one of the tests they do at the RIB.
Yeah. Well, close to this, around the margins of this, we got readings of like 150, which are high. Inside it, we got readings anywhere from 150 up to 200. Even I think some of them were even higher than 200. This tester hasn't been calibrated, so it's not reliable for, really fine readings, but it definitely indicates that there are cations floating around in that water that carrying electricity from.
Pure water does not conduct electricity, so it's dissolved
Right.
materials
Yeah,
in the
it's
water
all stuff.
that
You
can
can't identify what it is, but.
provide conductivity. And the higher the conductivity, the more stuff is
Yeah.
is dissolved in the water.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Well, I can
Have Larry take a
I
water
can have
test?
Larry give you advice. I think Larry and I both agree that this needs to be tested at a professional level. I don't know whether that's the right job for the contractor that's supposed to do periodic
At the dump?
at the dump, or whether.
Do you have a contractor in mind?
The only one the Conservation Commission has used is Norman Dew and Associates, and I don't know whether they do these things. This is not the kind of testing you do in a lake or a stream. This is pretty sophisticated testing. You want to know heavy metals, you want to know acidity, you want to know.
Would it be appropriate to coordinate with Clay Gallagher, who has working knowledge, with Stantec?
Possibly,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, why wouldn't we just use the same company?
And Stantec is from Auburn, but the fellow that he uses actually lives in Tuftonboro.
The other option is get Larry to contact DES and find out what their recommendation is. And this is currently permitted under DES. I think there are probably some reporting requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing is DES gonna require us to remove the beaver to get down to measure the natural environment?
I doubt that they would care about this.
Okay.
And you are aware that this, where we measured this is actually on a budding property. It's not our property.
It's private property.
Yeah, it's on your, the name that's in the tax record is on, is the report that you.
Now, do you need to negotiate to get permission to have people go out there, or?
I think they should be informed of what we know and, yeah, ask permission to, it's not posted.
Right,
But-
so we could go and actually take a sample without breaking any laws. And I think if we notify them, we should probably notify them with some information as opposed to speculation.
Yes.
And right now, we're just speculating. So I would think that, and I know that we used to test, I mean, when I was a selectman before,
Right.
there was a test site
Yeah,
there. So there must be some
records.
agreement or whatever that
Yep.
that we're gonna test the water in different areas.
I mean, we want to be a partner with the landowner. There's nothing
But
nefarious.
we may already be a partner, that's all.
I'm
Is
pretty
this
sure-
something that you can have?
According to the
Larry,
citizen that took us
follow up
down
on?
there, who, was aware of the neighborhood, he thought there was a different landowner, so it sounds like there's been a change.
I think his father owned the abutting piece of land.
I think it's not a budding, I think it's
In the
a couple of
neighborhood.
parcels away. Actually, your uncle would be the next
My sister.
sister, or
That
that
was
be the
my
next
dad's
landowner
property. Yep.
over.
Yep. The dog legs back
Yeah.
to, and the beaver dam is on their property. Yeah.
Well, that's probably a different dam.
There's actually there were two dams down there.
I don't think my photo doesn't cover a large enough area, but there are a bunch of,
do you-
beaver ponds down
So
here.
you're gonna have Larry Gill actually spearhead this?
I'm offering that.
Right, so we should have him come in.
Larry's willing to
Right.
work on this.
Right,
I've worked with him on Lang Pond Road, for example, and he helped clean up the brook,
so we should have him
so,
come in
sure.
Yep.
somehow.
Do you have the thumb drive that the original pictures are on? Because Mark Howard will I gave him a package of photography paper, and he'll run them off for me.
I have these stored on my computer, which is going to be repaired this afternoon.
Well,
I hope I don't lose all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, when I have pictures taken, those are work copies, but I do it right on photograph paper, so.
I still have it.
I have some if you want some.
I still have it on the camera too. I don't think do anything other than communicate. It should make an impression, and anybody will look at them.
But we need to start accumulating information,
Sure.
both the DES and the land.
I think if you want Larry to work on it in the interim, the first thing he would probably do is contact DES and see what their recommendation is. And that lets the cat out of the bag, so to speak, other than the newspaper.
No, yeah, the
Well, we aren't
council
dealing with
comment
an
that.
acre of dead animals or anything like
No,
that.
no,
We're dealing with
I
something that's curious.
actually, I personally wouldn't hesitate to drink a sip of this water. It dilutes pretty quickly once it comes out, and part of what you're seeing here is what's coming out. This is coming out of the stream. I wouldn't want to drink this water on a daily basis. I wouldn't want to live in it.
I'll leave the drinking of it up to you.
Can if we're done on this subject, can I just, in one sentence or two sentences, bring up another subject?
So we're not done quite yet.
Yep.
So you'll contact Larry?
Yep,
And,
if that's what you want.
yeah, and see if he can come in,
Yeah,
or
sure.
or if he just wants to start on it. So
When would you want him to come in?
we're open for business Friday, I think, aren't we?
We meet with, you can schedule it, okay?
This Friday?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll see if he can do that,
Yeah.
and if so, he'll contact you.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
On a totally another subject, I'm not sure if Jim Bean is a partner with conservation or not about Japanese knotwood and the invasive species that are on town property. Could you have someone communicate with him?
I took him out there.
Okay.
Well,
He's at a loss for what I was talking
I
about.
think it was this last summer, we walked out there.
Yes?
After walking around, it's a bigger job than I imagined. The knotweed is confined to the eastern side and mostly on a slope, and is mixed in with a lot of stumps and debris that was pushed over the edge. And he said that the contractor they've been using pretty much work out of the back of a pickup truck, which means opening up the old road that goes down there and cleaning it out. I think you would have to do that anyway. This isn't something you could hike in with a backpack and hike out every time, efficiently hike out every time you needed to refill the backpack. So some kind of vehicular access is going to be necessary. And then the remainder of the area has some glossy buckthorn, you know, some of it is this big and in clumps. And there's also bittersweet climbing on trees. So it's
all in the stump dump area, right?
Yeah.
It's all in
Well-
an area that was disturbed, and
this was a gravel pit. All right, that's how it started out. It was a gravel pit, which kind of on a semi-ridgetop hillside kind of environment. Imagine a ridge coming out of kind of the side of the hill, and they took off part of that ridge. So there's a bank that's in this direction, and then there is a slope going off over here. And they dumped a lot of, when they did the stump dump part, they dumped it off the edge of that slope. They didn't do anything to the old gravel pit. So there's just stuff growing in there. There's some natural vegetation, and about 50% natural vegetation, probably 50% invasive. Buckthorn and bittersweet. And then over the edge is, and on top of the edge and over the edge on the eastern side is where this knotweed is. And knotweed is one of these things that once it gets established, it sends these rhizomes through the top of the soil and sends up new plants. So it grows in these huge clumps. And that's what this is. This stuff goes from 6 to 12 feet high, and it's in this maze of old stumps. It is not going to be easy.
is this something that we need to have the road agent involved in?
He's the one that has experience contracting with herbicide applicators. I do some of this work on some nonprofit land that I help take care of. And I thought about volunteering to do some of it out there. But it is a big job. And it requires different things. The bittersweet needs to be cut at the base, and then you can apply a herbicide concentrate right to that base. Instead of spraying something around, you just kind of paint it on, or you can squirt it on, but it's an individual thing where you cut it and you squirt, and then you
Is
can...
that like the kind of stuff we put on poison ivy plants when they're woody, you cut them and you paint the same
Yeah.
sort of thing, right? To kill the
Yes.
roots.
Except you don't have to be as careful.
Right, yeah.
And then, and you could do the same thing with the dogwood, what do they call it?
Buckthorn, lots of
Buckthorn,
buckthorn, yeah.
Or with the buckthorn, you can wait for it to resprout, and then it usually takes 2 applications. I think it's a little easier to do that. I cut it down, I wait for it to resprout the next spring, then late in the spring, hit it with a herbicide. Some of it will resprout again, get at the end of the season, and that pretty well knocks it out. It's a lot easier to spray those sprouts than to try to hit the individual stumps.
Do you have time to have another conversation with Joe?
I'll be glad to anytime.
Okay, I'm not looking to stick the road agent with another project, but he may have, between the two of you, you may know a vendor or someone who would donate their time. But, you know, it's,
If I were him, I would be thinking doing this kind of thing is a favor rather than a duty.
yes.
So,
And that's how I view it, yes.
so I haven't felt like pressuring him really hard.
And
No.
I guess, of course, we've just gone through the road agent budget for next year. I say with a high degree of confidence, I don't believe there's money that has
Yeah.
been included in his budget to do this stuff.
This requires more than a truck driving up to the spot
Right.
and spraying. It's,
So, do you have money in the conservation budget that can be
I do not.
allocated toward opening up and getting back in there?
I do
So,
not.
basically, until we put some money aside, nothing's gonna happen,
Right.
right?
I think it'd really be dandy if the milfoil committee went back to becoming the invasive weeds
Well,
committee.
the
And that
milfoil
would be the
committee is
appropriate
always,
to handle it.
the milfoil committee in this town and in some of the other towns have always been aquatic invasives only. And what I'm aware of in towns that address other invasives, it's the Conservation Commission that does it directly.
Some do, and some do the aquatics too.
Well, and that's, you're right. But I don't envision our milfoil committee changing its focus at this point.
No, I can do it that way.
And,
It's just, it's another